We're live, chat. We are live. Okay, you can tell this is not my regular environment. You do let me know how my audio is coming through, because pretty windy here. Pretty windy here, and you see this little fuzzy thing? That's supposed to be a wind breaker or a wind something. I'll leave it up to you guys. You let me know how the audio is coming through. I got my setup going on here. I have no idea how I pulled this one off, but it's pretty cool. Excuse the little bit of lateness. Now you know why. I am visiting my parents. So happen to take the family with me. Hoping all is good there. Anyways, no, it's not a hotel. It's an apartment. Check this out. Cool stuff, huh? All right, let me get to it, and then we're gonna get into some comments. Let me clip this on, and do let me know for experimentation reasons whether the audio suffers at all by me clipping it instead of holding it. 2 days ago, after I ended my stream with you guys, I saw the New York Times headline reporting. Shapiro asked if he were a double agent for the Israeli government. I didn't think that I'm in this content game long enough where I get to say I told you so. But let me take you through this. I started getting to this content game just about, early 2024. And then right up until I think the last thing I covered was the VP pick for Harris. And then I took my hiatus because of a variety of factors. I'll get into that later if you need me to. But I think one of the most piercing pieces that I published was that, you know what it was? You know, the way I remember the sequence was, first, Halpern reported that Shapiro was the front runner to Walz. I think that was Thursday or Friday. Saturday it shifted. Walz is the likely pick. Walz was official, I believe it was Sunday. I published a piece saying this does not pass the smell test. Correct. Shapiro is not a good number 2. Fine. But why was he passed over? And it didn't pass the smell test to me. I had no idea Shapiro was coming out with a memoir. I knew he was running for president. I knew coming out with a memoir is obligatory for running. Not until the New York Times dropped that piece on Monday, I ran to the library and put a hold on that new release. I obviously did some further digging into it, and I looked at Michael's poll question yesterday saying, who's more of a likely nominee, Shapiro or Harris? Guys, you're gonna have to excuse me. I don't know if you hear something in my voice. I don't know if my voice is going, but we're gonna work with it for now. I read a piece in the Jerusalem Post that went to Biden's ambassador against anti-Semitism, Deborah Lipstadt. I mean, there's a long history of dual loyalty when it comes to Jews in countries other than their own. This is a classic version of it. All you have to do to measure it is, was Walz asked the question? Is he a double agent for Israel? I specifically remember Shapiro being asked in 2024 on whether he stands by an article he wrote supporting Israel when he was 20 years old or in college or something like that. And for anyone who seriously is still blurred. I'll be nice. Blurred to think there's not a normalization of anti-Semitism these days, and it's not being masked by anti-Zionism. If you're not convinced by now, I don't know what'll convince you. That's the truth. That's the first point I wanted to make, and I'm shopping around for what the Harris team's explanation is of this whole debacle, because I'm sure there is one. I wouldn't be surprised if they deny it outright. But think of Shapiro now as a Democratic candidate running for the nomination. Does the name Shapiro or previous support of Israel work against him? That disadvantage, is that more based in the Jewish element of his composure, or is it more based in the Israel supportive element of his past that now has drawbacks in the Democratic Party? You know my thoughts, but I remember back in 2024 when Walz was picked, I was so irate and was so speculative that it didn't smell right. And I cannot believe that I'm going to be one of those content creators that's going to say, I told you then, and I was right. I cannot believe it. That aside, I'll retire the comment. I'll retire the side. We'll move on to the next thing that I wanted to put out there. Next thing I want to put out there, Trump in Davos using the tariffs as he is. Somebody told me Kissinger said this during Trump 1.0. I've never found the quote, but let's roll with this hypothetical here, right? Trump is a born and practiced businessman. Whether he is good, whether he is honest, off the table. Businessman. Any negotiation starts with you name the price, not me, and then we work from where your starting point is. What he's trying to do with Greenland, first off, to my analysis, he's trying to have them set the price. Them are two people. Them are Greenland / Denmark and the EU. Davos, of course, is being dominated by this Greenland conversation. The Dow was down over a point yesterday. And once they name their price, the negotiation begins. Not having a price is still a price. The reason why I say that is because that just means the price isn't high enough. Michael goes back and forth on his program on whether everybody has a price, everybody is for sale at a certain price. Michael is of the belief that everyone is for sale at a certain price. I agree with him in that regard. But the way I see it happening, if Trump doesn't get Greenland as a land purchase of its own in totality, like he's saying, no, he won't invade militarily. He'll open up a few more bases as the 1951 treaty authorizes him to do, and how to run the country, or how to run the bases in the country is a better way to phrase it. And then he's going to say those bases are now known as St. Donald, St. Trump, St. John. You know, he's going to say, and we got complete military access or something like that. Or he's going to say, yeah, we got the whole thing, but it's going to be he opened 2 more bases or something like that. His presence in Davos as an American gives me pause in the amount of animosity being thrown at the Americans. I mean, look at how he published his texts with French President Emmanuel Macron, and Macron had to go and play diplomat on, yes, I was engaging with the American president about X and Y and Z. Why don't we fix A and B and C in the world order? I mean, we're part of the P5, right? I don't know how that happened. Falcon Steph, let's put up your comment here. You disagree that everyone has a price. Some people are not motivated by money. Price doesn't just mean money, motivated Falcon Steph. Price can mean anything. I think everyone has their price to do something. Could be a favor, could be a pleasure further than money. So in this part about Trump's presidency always bothered me, surrounded by yes men. I struggle to agree that Trump 1.0 didn't have a bunch of yes men surrounding him. Sure, there was the Rex Tillerson and the Mike Pompeo last term. But I always liked the idea of naysayers in your cabinet, or at least not all yes men. Anyways, I'm here. I'm speaking to a bunch of moderates and nuanced people here. So what does that have to do with anything? And ooh, Hamilton. I love Disagreement. Trump isn't trying to negotiate Greenland. Our takeover would violate international law and the 1951 defense agreement. Davos speech to be determined, but hardly a negotiation. No. I'm saying he is negotiating now as is with his rhetoric and the meeting with the Greenlanders. I think it was last week. As long as Trump's rhetoric is simply one of in reality compliance with the 1951 agreement. In reality, it complies with the 1951 agreement. But his rhetoric, he just truth socials. He truths a post saying, "Look at what we did. We came to the defense of Greenland, and we now protect the island of Greenland." Imagine that's your post. That works. That works. I mean, he's able to get the points of protecting parts of Greenland and making it somewhat of an American protectorate, but not ruling over it. Get what I'm saying here? This guy thrives in the middle of confusion and the gray zone. So that is what I'm saying, how the PR of it can work. Let's go more into the comments here. Nancy Lawrence, Trump has the rhetoric, Rubio is doing the negotiating. That tells you a lot. What does that tell you? That tells you that Trump is not the diplomat, Trump is not the pragmatist, Trump is not your typical politician. We all knew that. I wonder how Rubio puts up with it, to be honest. And all right, let's go back further into the comments here. Jamal. Oh, I think this is probably when I was talking about Shapiro. Reminds of JFK and the Pope. Americans historically have been racist, classist, and classist. Classist. Cool. Originist, always expecting the worst of people. Don't get me wrong. I'm a cynic. I think we're all political animals here, right? We all expect that there are some selfish motivation in people. People are selfish by nature, and I'm a believer in that. Whether they act in a selfish way, that's completely their choice. But I believe people are selfish by nature. And yeah, people believe in the worst in people. I guess that's sort of the origin of the double agent question. By no means does it justify it in a context of being vetted for vice president. Oh, no. Oh, no. Hamilton White responding. Ignoring 1916, NATO defends Greenland today. This ain't about defense or protection. This is where I respect your intelligence. I have no idea what was 1916. I'm assuming some agreement that would conflict with whatever he says, or whatever speculation I'm laying out as far as Trump's behavior in Greenland. Let's look into what else is out there. Ooh, Jamal had to jump early. All right, making it a great day. See you. And Sue, you're 100% right. Most negative comments mask the racism. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. I remember some family meals, holiday meals, where Obama was the punching bag. And these holiday meals, I mean, yeah, just think of how your Thanksgivings work. You have your right, your left, and your clashes. By my family, the composure is really a lot more of like 95% right and 5% left. And then there's me, who I think is in the middle. There's the Obama days was just rip after rip after rip. I learned on my own, not through my family news digest, on my own, how much more towards the center Obama's presidency was than it was more towards the left. Of course, it was left-leaning, but he governed from the center. To be honest, that's what keeps me hopeful about the Mamdani mayoralty. That in the end, people eventually govern from the center. They may spew as left as they can, but just because there are so many forces against them, yeah. I mean, but the point stands. The point stands to end. Nancy, how are you using the word people? Let's see. This is too attractive for me to seek over. So, and do I think that Harris Shapiro could have won? It would have given him Pennsylvania. It would have given her a semblance of being a moderate. What could Trump have called Shapiro? Not Tampon Tim. It would not have. Well, let's put it this way. And the extremist faction of the Democratic Party did not come out for Harris when she picked Walz. So the extremist party, the extremist elements of the Democrats or the Democratic voter base didn't put her over the top this time. Perhaps the moderate factions of both parties and independents could have came out for Harris in the swing states that they came out for Trump in. So I could say, based on Trump sweeping every swing state, Pennsylvania included, she would have at least turned out a little better than what I think was a humiliating loss, losing in that way. Guys, a couple more, and then off to family time, right? All right, Hamilton teaching me what I should be informed on. The Treaty of the Danish West Indies, where Denmark sold the islands, now the Virgin Islands, to the U.S. for $25 million in gold in exchange. The U.S. recognized. Okay, whether it'll be a violation of the treaty, I'm not quite sure, but I take your word for it. Sure, could be. I'll end off with this one. Nancy, I think he preserved his viability for the 28 cycle. And at the very least, he preserved his viability to be a number two for someone more prominent, for someone with more of an edge. But I'll be honest with you, I think the Dems are going to go ahead, have a strong midterm this year. but they just don't have they just don't have themselves collected enough come 2028. Just my speculation, my feeling, what I'm seeing. Hey, we have another 2 or 3 years, right? So with that, I'm going to end the stream. Guys, thank you so much for showing up this morning. Please, if you're not on my email list, subscribe below. If you want any of those articles that I was mentioning, be it the Jerusalem Post article, the New York Times article, or even a link to Shapiro's book, you can get it. You can get it from your libraries, the digital and audiobook version. I do that all the time instead of spending exorbitant amount on books. Feel free to reach out to me. Let me know. I'll send you that link. There's also, I'll see you here Friday. And then Sunday, I'm pretty sure I'll do a pre-recorded message. How do you like the new setting, guys? This is the free state of Florida, as some people like to say. Cool. So we'll see each other next time. I'll see you in a couple days. And please do let me know if any feedback. And looking forward to hearing it. Have a great day, guys.